Hi, everyone. Master Jedi Colleen here, co-host of Bohemian Geek Studies and yet another Star Wars podcast. But I'm not only a podcaster, I'm also an author. My second novel was published last fall, and it debuted as #1 horror novel on Amazon, which was really cool. If you like Stephen King, weird happenings in small towns, or just looking for a new writer, give my novel The Falls a try. It's set in Minnesota, where everyone wears that nice facade. Nothing is ever what it seems. Find The Falls by Colleen McMillan on Amazon and the Between the Lines publishing website.
Ladies and gentlemen, please notice that exits are conveniently located at the front and rear of this auditorium. When leaving the theater, we suggest that the exit at the front of the auditorium will allow you easier access to the parking areas. Thank you.
I was gonna say, like, the whole point of Star Wars is to get him to shoot those friggin' things to kill the Death Star. You're talking that's the whole design of that movie.
I'm a little.
Things didn't go the way you thought.
No, I'm just a little.
Stallone's playing soccer.
Yeah.
What's going on? I'm watching this.
I saw that at a very young age, and I didn't.
You're coming at me hard.
I'm not coming at you hard.
Yeah, you are.
I just don't believe her choices. Her choices are ridiculous.
Give me an emotion. Hi, I'm Mike Field.
I'm Mike Butler.
And you're listening to the Forgotten Cinema Podcast. Each episode, we highlight a film that, for a variety of reasons, was forgotten by audiences. Whether it be because a more popular movie was released at the same time, or the movie simply didn't catch on with an audience in its initial run. We'll discuss what we love about the movie, or perhaps don't love about it, but we'll always recommend you revisit it. If you enjoy our podcast, we want to hear from you. We're on Instagram and Facebook. Find us. Our podcast is available on all platforms with a backlog of 150 episodes for your listening pleasure. What's going on?
Nothing. Just, seducing people, making them change their ways, ruining their lives.
Deliciously
for the
evil.
better.
Deliciously evil is what I said in my Instagram story when I said I was watching it. We are doing The Shape of Things, a movie that was a first for us in terms of it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, nowhere to be found.
It's not unavailable for streaming, like unavailable for VOD. I'm not going to tell you how we got it, but it was.
We got it.
We here at Forgotten Cinema make sure that we get the movies when we say we're going to do them.
If we tell you last week that we were going to do Shape of Things, bet your ass we're going to do Shape
You're
of Things.
darn right. You're darn right. If people pay attention to that. So The Shape of Things has a runtime of 96 minutes. It's rated R. Production budget of $4 million.
Now let me tell you what it's about.
Oh, I'm sorry.
While visiting an art
Apologies.
museum, a nerdy college student named Adam meets an iconoclastic artist named Evelyn and is instantly smitten. As their relationship develops, she gradually encourages Adam to change in various ways that surprise his older friends, Jenny and Philip. However, as events progress, Evelyn's antics become darker and darker as her influence begins to twist Adam and his friends in hurtful ways.
The Shape of Things is just runtime of 96 minutes. Rated R. Production budget of $4 million. It came out only limited on Friday, May 9th, 2003. When I say only limited, it was opened in 40 theaters, but it never went over 60 theaters in terms of its extended run. So
This is a big movie, man.
limited as limited can get. Its opening weekend, it did $173,000. Domestic did $735,000 and worldwide $826,000. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't the lowest one we've done, right? We've done. I mean, I don't. Can we really count the
limo one?
Which one?
The limo one?
The stretch one? Well, that's more streaming. I was saying, could we really just count the Elvis one that we did because it's so old, like the older film? That was our oldest film, right? Or
Yeah.
The Night of the Hunter was our oldest film.
Night of the Hunter was probably the oldest one, but yeah, I don't know if you can count those because they're so old.
Maybe modern day movies. This might be the. I don't know.
Is this less than Croupier?
Maybe not. No, I thought Croupier made $1 million.
Did
At
Croupier
least
make
over $1 million.
Okay.
Yeah. Who knows? Production companies were 3 of them: Studio Canal, Working Title Films, and Pretty Pictures. Distributed in the United States by Focus Features, and in the United Kingdom, Momentum Pictures. So I said it came out on the 9th of May. It went up against the juggernaut Daddy Daycare and A Mighty Wind. That's the Christopher Guest movie. You also had a limited release of Down with Love, which came out on the 16th, the following Friday, as a wide release. It also had a limited release of Pokemon Heroes. Did you see Pokemon Heroes, Butler?
No, I was probably a little too old to see the Pokemon movies by that point.
Right. Now you're wondering, the 16th is Friday. It's not really a big weekend. That's a May weekend. It should be summer release. But the Thursday, right before it, the 15th, was The Matrix Reloaded. So that I didn't realize that had an extra Thursday day release.
No, me neither.
You know what I mean? So that would have been like Wednesday night was midnights and stuff like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been Memorial Day weekend, right?
No, Memorial Day weekend's the last Monday in May, so that's probably the following weekend.
They were just thinking Matrix is going to make so much money.
Well, that's a sequel, Butler, and even though you don't like Matrix Reloaded, it is going to be a big time weekend for the
I understand
sequel
that.
to the Matrix. Yeah. So that's probably why it had that extra day. So probably had 4 extra days of gross.
Yeah,
whatever. We're not
they're going to make some money.
We're not doing the Matrix Reloaded. We're doing the Shape of Things. Okay, so the week before the Shape of Things, which was May 2nd, you had X2, X-Men United. That's the good one, right?
X2 is good. Yeah, it's action heavy. But yeah.
And then you also had the Lizzie McGuire movie, which was a Butler favorite, I'm sure. Woo! This is written and directed by Neil LaBute. He did In Company of Men, Your Friends and Neighbors, Nurse Betty. He also did the Nicolas Cage Punching a Bear and The Wicker Man. And I didn't realize this, but he's writing. I think he's maybe executive producing, but I'm not sure. But they're doing a TV show for American Gigolo, based on the 80s movie with John Bernthal.
Really?
John Bernthal's in that. So I thought that was like, I was intrigued by that.
I do like John Bernthal.
Agreed.
I did see he was also the writer of 16 episodes of the Van Helsing Sci-Fi Channel series.
I did see that too.
I thought that was really interesting. Very big change of pace.
Maybe exactly. Yeah. I always lump The Shape of Things with In the Company of Men and Your Friends and Neighbors. It's like a trilogy of hate, which I love. And I didn't realize he did Nurse Betty. I don't know why I didn't realize that, but it makes sense
because it's also kind of a spiteful kind of thing.
It makes sense thinking about it. Yeah. Cinematography was James L. Carter. He's done Home Movies. That is a Brian De Palma film from 1979. He also did One False Move, and he's done a lot of TV but mostly for Hawaii Five-0, the new one, the remake or the reboot or whatever.
Right.
Composer was Elvis Costello. They just use his songs basically. They use or maybe he did compose some music for the movie itself. He's actually been nominated for an Oscar for song for the movie Cold Mountain. Edited by Joel Plotch, who did Lakeview Terrace, The Wicker Man. Lakeview Terrace is another Neil LaBute film.
Yep.
And he did some editing for the TV show Longmire, which I like, and produced by Neil LaBute. I had him for Van Helsing. Butler, I had him down for producing. Andrew Lipson has done Extreme Makeover Home Edition. Cale Mutrix, who's done Donnie Brasco and Kinsey. Philip Stewart, who did The Rookie, Chronicles of Narnia trilogy. And then Rachel Weisz produced this movie. She has produced the movie Disobedience, which she was in. She's only produced a couple others. I think mainly whatever she's in.
Right.
She's in this movie. She plays Evelyn. I forgot this, that she had won an Oscar. Did you know that? Do you remember what it was for?
For that the movie the year that came out, the year the Dark Knight came out, right? And it pretty much got snubbed. Shit. If you tell me, I gotta remember the title.
The Constant Gardener.
Oh no, that's not.
What were you thinking of?
I can't remember the name of it.
Dark Knight was 2005. No, was it 2005?
You know, and I'm thinking of the wrong actress anyway.
All right, we're off to a good start. So Rachel Weisz won an Oscar for The Constant Gardener. She was also nominated for an Oscar for the movie The Favorite, which came out a couple years ago. And one of her first films was Chain Reaction, which I always remember.
Oh, that was one of her first ones?
It was like her second or third one or something like that.
I want to rewatch Chain Reaction. I liked it when I was a kid, but you say it's bad. I
don't think it's bad. I think it's watchable. It's just like it's
generic.
It's like the opening scene when the chain reaction happens, and that's pretty cool. And there's some good stuff. There's some interesting action. It's not, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, oh my God, this is a classic that people forgot about. Paul Rudd plays Adam, who's in the catch. I try to do some movies that Paul Rudd is in that's not a superhero film, everyone. So I know you all know him as Ant-Man, and he's in Anchorman as well, and I know he's in the Ghostbusters film that I have not yet seen, but Butler loves it. He's also in The Catcher Was a Spy, the movie Wanderlust, and The Cider House Rules. Gretchen Mol plays Jenny. She is in Rounders, the notorious Betty Page, where she actually plays Betty Page, and Manchester by the Sea. And then Fredrick Weller as Philip, who was probably people know him from the TV show In Plain Sight because he's on there a lot. He's also in the Steven Soderbergh TV show Mosaic, which was on HBO, which I recommend. And he's also in the movie Black Klansman, to name a few. And that's it. That's a small cast. This cast is actually the original cast of the play.
Yeah, so I saw that.
So this movie is based obviously on LaBute's play. So he wrote and directed the script based on his own play. So it makes sense. I like that the original cast is in there. It brings a familiarity to the role. Butler has never seen this film.
Nope.
I don't mean, you heard of it, right?
I had heard of it.
Okay.
But I knew nothing about it.
Oh, excellent.
I just knew there was a film with Paul Rudd that was called The Shape of Things.
Yes. So spoiler alert, we'll probably reveal some stuff here because the the whole basis of the movie, it leads up to an ending that if you don't know what's going on, it could be it could be shocking or interesting or like, oh, wow, I didn't see that coming. But like upon second watch with me, it was interesting to dissect the film, knowing how it was going to end and seeing what she was doing. So if you have not seen this film, we apologize, but we don't do non-spoiler reviews. Sorry. Because this is more of a discussion about the film. I'm curious, though, what you thought of the movie.
It was okay.
Interesting.
I think that the dialogue really pissed me off for a while. Then I paused it, went to the bathroom, came back, got into like a little bit of a phone hole, looked up some facts about the movie and found out it was a play. And I was like, this makes sense because one of my notes was they're talking like it's a play.
Did you not know that LaBute is a playwright?
I did know he was a playwright.
Okay.
But I did not know that this was a play.
Well, most of his movies are based upon his own plays.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I did not know that.
So, and obviously when you're a playwright, I think when you start writing for TV and film, I think that kind of comes through because that, like Aaron Sorkin's very wordy. David Mamet's very wordy in his movies.
Mamet is definitely wordy. Mamet's almost play-like, but I'd say Sorkin still has a more of a realistic style to his dialogue, even though it's wordy.
Okay.
Whereas this is very play-like dialogue. This is very, I'm going to tell you my feelings because you can't see them on my face because we're performing for a stage and you're sitting too far away from me for a close.
But see, I understand that sentiment. Obviously as someone who writes, I actually enjoy plays that are brought onto the screen because I enjoy that. I enjoy hearing the dialogue. So it doesn't offend me or affect me as much as it may you. But I also, with this movie, I also think a lot of the stuff that they're saying is there's a lot of subtext to what she is doing when she is trying to manipulate him, what she says, how she speaks to him. So I think that's necessary in some aspects.
For her, sure.
Okay.
And, she's hot enough where it can get away with it because like she's just like, I knew from the beginning she was up to something and she was changing him for a reason. And it dawned about halfway through, I was like, Sheets is our project. I kind of realized what it was.
Interesting. Because I must not be as smart as you because I never realized that.
It just, it was a little too wordy at the beginning with the museum piece and stuff. And I was just like,
Well, she only mentions the thesis that she's starting it.
Yeah.
And then maybe when later on in the show, or excuse me, later on in the movie, when she is speaking to Adam about it, she says, you're working on a thesis. Jenny. And she's like, I never told you what it was. I never said what my thesis was. So, I mean, I guess you could probably glean something from that.
There's the bedroom with the camera and smile at the camera. And I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I think, yeah, but like you could very easily, and maybe I did this upon first watch, is very easily equate the way her behavior is, her free spirit as being somebody who was into that kind of stuff, who was somebody who was... That was like she's an outward person. She likes to try different things. She's
but at the same time she's not outward because she doesn't really react to things correctly. Like when he gets eat on his thigh and she's like, I do like it. It's almost like she doesn't really.
What are you talking about when he gets
the tattoo on his thigh?
Right.
And the smile for the camera and like
that's on his groin.
Yeah. Why would you smile for the camera? I was just like,
sure. So we should mention what happens at the end. I know just for people because we're talking about it like people know. Yeah, go ahead.
Evelyn's whole thing is that she's trying to get her MFA in fine art. Her experiment was supposed to be, or her professor told her that art can change the world. And so she took that as your art can change a person to try to change Adam from a, overweight doofus to a guy who's not only externally attractive, but internally what people think of as attractive. So change the way he thinks, make him a little bit more of a quote unquote bad boy, get his nose job, lose 25 pounds, get that tattoo, all that kind of stuff.
Well, the tattoo wasn't her.
Well, it wasn't her idea. That was more stuff like I didn't even need to really try and stuff like that.
Right. Well, she calls it that she's a sculptor. She's sculpting him into her work as a human person. Yeah, a human body. And she's basically it's an extension or it's an exaggeration of when a boy meets a girl and a girl, tries to change the boy and makes suggestions. Because let's be honest, that's a lot of times when teenage boys need help. They need help in figuring out.
Like that kind of stuff happens.
They don't start realizing they need to wear cologne or they need to start wearing deodorant until they realize that, I like this girl or I like this other boy, whatever. Right. When puberty hits, it's the other people's perceptions of you that changes how you behave. And we've all been there and we're still there. We're all still doing that kind of stuff. So this is an exaggeration of that. Totally. And she does mention at the end that she never told him to do. She never said he must do this. She never said you have to have.
Nothing was forced.
Right. She proposed the decision to him, and she would weigh the pros and the cons, obviously being biased toward the pros about why he should get the nose job or why he should start running to lose weight. Because clearly in the beginning of the movie, he's wearing implants or he's got some kind of prosthetics in his mouth because he's talking.
Right. And he keeps his neck stiff, so he gets a double chin.
Right.
Although I thought some of the prosthetics were pretty good, especially the fake nose. I didn't realize it until later on. I was like, oh, wow.
Well, I was wondering if they never did the fake nose until that scene to kind of give it just a little bit, like you would look at it and be like, oh, that's something's up, because it doesn't, because when you look back after,
right,
it doesn't seem like they did much. It seems like you know what I mean?
It's not exaggerated, which is nice. If it was exaggerated, that'd be ridiculous.
But also, Paul Rudd lost 25 pounds for the film.
I did see that.
So he did lose weight. I mean, when you're performing on stage, this movie, you're not really going to, you're not going to be able to show that weight loss unless you wear padding or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, and it is a little exaggerated because his character at the beginning is definitely more than 25 pounds heavier than he is at the end.
Right. Right. Just to get back to the art gallery and all that stuff and her at the end. What I love is that she presents everything. She presents it to people. She has the mic and she presents everything. She's like, hey, you can come back to the Q&A afterward, and nobody shows up, which I thought was very interesting because I think it is controversial what she did. Cause I think a lot of people felt the same way that Jenny and Philip felt when they both yelled at her. And ran out. They don't agree with it, but I do like the quote when they walk through, when he goes to the Q&A and to the gallery and it says moralists have no place in an art gallery. I do like that quote because that's basically her in a nutshell, what she's thinking.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That. But also there's an alternate ending to the movie. I don't know if they shot it.
Is it okay? Because I read that in trivia or whatever. And I was just like, what? It's
an alternate ending. It might be in the play. That's probably why I'm thinking that.
Okay.
But, so at the end of the movie, when Adam shows up, and if you haven't got it already, Adam and Evelyn, Adam and Eve, when Adam shows up to talk to Evelyn and he kind of yells at her and he kind of like just screams at her, and she's not going to change her mind. She doesn't care. She doesn't believe she did anything wrong.
Right. I mean, he's not really there to change her mind.
Right.
He's just kind of there to tell her.
To vent.
Yeah, how he feels.
But so at the end of when she leaves, he leaves and she just she leaves and he stands there, and then it pans over to he loves me not,
loves me not.
She loves me not, or something like that. She loves me not. But in the original, Mike had talked about how they recorded themselves making love, having sex.
Right.
She actually has that video keyed up on a TV for people to sit down and watch their lovemaking.
Right.
In the movie, we don't see it. It doesn't play. It's just you see the TV there and you get the idea. I think once you see the TV, you know that's what's happening. But the alternate ending is that he actually sits down and watches the video and keeps rewinding it over and over
because he asked if anything she said was true, and he said there was one time in the bedroom he whispered something to her and she whispered something back, and that was the one true thing she ever said.
Right.
So I guess that's what he's rewinding to listen to, is that one moment of truth in their relationship.
Right. Yes, agreed. But what I see, the whole thing when she's playing the role, do you think that she was actively angry at Philip for a reason when he started talking? Because they initially meet because she defaces a work of art by spray painting a penis on this guy.
That was already kind of defaced because the piece on the statue that blocked his genitalia.
She talked about how these people put plaster
was up because the town didn't like it.
Right. Do you think that her anger towards Philip was calculated?
No, I think that anger was real.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that anger was that conversation about art and stuff. I think that was real. And I think her fight with Adam was real in the bedroom. I think that's what she's passionate about. She has no moral center except for how you regard art. And especially like performance pieces and avant-garde art and this like emotional kind of thing. Like that's art to her. And you're feeling a way, you're feeling anger, but that is part of art, is that you might have to feel that way. So she's very protective about her pieces and just art in general.
Right. So I thought that too. I was trying to find moments in the movie where her plan, what was her plan and what was just her kind of either deviating or letting her emotions get the better of her or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was one moment. The moment where, so a byproduct of Adam getting better and Adam improving his look is that Jenny, who was somebody who he liked initially and didn't have the guts to ask out, but then you find out his roommate Philip asked her out and they're set to be married in this movie. Jenny's having second thoughts because she's realizing that Philip's a dick, and played well by Fredrick Weller, and starts becoming attracted to Adam.
To Adam, yeah.
They kiss, and I guess the indication is that they do more than kiss later on. They, obviously
right. They're
together and make out. Yeah. But then to even the score, according to Evelyn, is she goes and kisses Philip. This is off screen. She reveals it. Do you think that was calculated to break them up, to just kind of see what would happen? Is that part of it?
That obviously she didn't plan for Adam to cheat on her with Jenny.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Evelyn then used that to her advantage to create a new checkpoint in her game or her art piece, which was to see if Adam would completely block out Jenny and Philip as people. So at that point, Jenny kind of is her Evelyn. Adam might be her fake boyfriend, but still her boyfriend. And Philip, she just straight up hates. So can she get him to stay away from them, as they are possibly negative influences to her designs?
Philip's like one of those guys that's probably in A Promising Young Woman at the end when they.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's him.
He's coming into the bedroom at the end. Hey, buddy. Yeah. No.
But I'm going to say this about Philip, because he is a dick, and I'm not. But he has a power that no one else really has in here, is that he knows when things are off. Like he knows. Absolutely. He immediately knows something's wrong because he's already placed Adam in a box and how he's supposed to behave. And he already knows, because Adam's improving himself. Adam's doing different things and new things, that something's not right. And he recognizes that. And, for good or bad, that's something that I didn't pick up the first time around when I watched this movie.
When it comes to routine, he used to be like Mr. Goddamn Rogers, right? Quote, which I wrote down in my notes. I love that quote.
But so you have to give it's very easy to take that character, Philip's character, and just dismiss him as like people would do, and just saying like, he's just whatever.
He's the dick friend. But the dick friend will tell you the truth.
Exactly. So when you first meet Philip, when they have the double date, and he's just spouting off, and you don't like him. Nobody likes you. You're just like, Philip,
he's such a douche. Yeah.
But as the movie goes on, it's not that you're just like, I like Philip. It's just that you don't hate him as much because you understand Philip.
Which is probably how Adam became friends with him.
Yeah. Well, he's an alpha male, so Adam
they were roommates, and they kind of gelled at the end.
Right. So I thought that was very, very interesting. I like that.
And I liked their conversation right before Evelyn's art piece, where Philip's just kind of realizing what's going on with Adam. I think we should sit. Maybe I just go, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Like
whatever,
he knows.
man. Yeah. I like, speaking of lines, I also like the line when it's after Evelyn reveals to Jenny about what happened. They're at the coffee house.
Right.
And then she leaves, and then Adam and Evelyn are fighting. And then Adam's trying to say it was nothing. And then I love Evelyn's line, because he's trying to defend, saying that his kiss wasn't anything. He wasn't a big deal, whatever.
Right.
And then I like Evelyn's line was like, it's always nothing until it's something. And it's like that's a really nice line.
Yep.
I thought that was a really nice line. And I also like the line where, because when you first meet Evelyn, she's somebody who speaks from the heart, but really has no moral affectation. She doesn't care. She just doesn't care about whatever. Right. She doesn't think there's meaning in everything. So when he asks her about, aren't you a Gemini? What is that? The twins? Does that mean you have a split personality? And she's like, no, it means I was born in June. Like, it just doesn't, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So I thought that was a nice line as well.
One of the things I really liked was toward the end. I mean, it's mentioned earlier, but then it comes up at the end, which is something I really like when something comes back around.
Of course.
Is when Jenny has said that, it's the little things that bother people. Like it's the sunglasses on their head, even when they're inside. And you see that Jenny and Philip are talking. And I guess Philip tells Adam that, him and Jenny broke up and they're not getting married anymore. She returned the ring. Mm-hmm. And then Philip sees Jenny, and Adam sees Jenny, and Adam apologizes to Jenny that they broke up. And Philip's like, oh, I didn't tell her. Or it's not really official.
Yeah.
And Jenny just goes, some things never change. And you see Philip put the sunglasses back on his head, which is something she had mentioned before.
Yeah.
And then she pops back out and goes, by the way, you don't need sunglasses on your head when you're inside. So she walks back in. I thought that was really good because it came back around from earlier on in the movie.
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the things I wanted to ask you, because you would mention the one thing you when we first started this episode was that you thought it was just okay, and the play was the way that it felt like you didn't like the dialogue, and it was okay. Was that the only thing that kind of bugged you?
That was the main thing that kind of bugged me. I mean, I think that I kind of got over it as the film went along. Once I learned it was a play, I started looking at it as a play.
Sure.
But I do think that hurts it as a film.
Okay.
I think that once you adapt plays for films, you have to look at your dialogue and maybe sometimes, I mean, you can keep lines that you really like, but you might have to adapt certain dialogue. It might sound great on stage, but it might sound really, really unrealistic and stupid when you're seeing it on film.
Right.
And that's something that kind of bothers me, and something I kind of look at when I'm watching a film that's based on a play is I can see them putting it on a stage and saying that dialogue absolutely works on a play.
Sure.
But not so much real humans on a screen.
Right.
But other than that, not too much. I mean, obviously, something that you must have thought of when you were watching this was it's a very uncomfortable movie at times.
Listen.
And as you know, I don't do well with uncomfortableness.
Exactly.
But I think the movie balances that really well, to the point where at the end, I should have been crawling in my skin going, I should have been like Adam sitting there watching this thing. That's how I normally am with awkward movies. But I think Evelyn does a really good way of saying, like, she never told him he had to do any of this.
Right.
And that Adam himself became a bit of a dick as he kind of moved on. That by becoming a quote unquote better person, he also became a worse person. He didn't know Evelyn's emotions weren't real. He did cheat on Evelyn. He did ruin Jenny and Philip. He did lose his friends on his own, kind of.
Well, I think I agree with you. And I think that the Jenny, in terms of that rationale, I kind of have to just not give him a pass, but there was unrequited love between him and Jenny.
Sure.
The point that Evelyn brings up is the waitress that he writes, that is off screen, that he writes in his journal, the cute waitress that he flirted with.
Yeah.
She points to that as being, the way that he improved himself. He also it empowered him to look
at other women and stuff.
Exactly. So I think that was probably, even though that was less to a degree of what he did,
right?
He didn't cheat. But he was flirting with some, because the Jenny thing, he did like Jenny, and I think there were still feelings there.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
But to your point about the dialogue, I wanted to just go back to that about you do have to change it for the film, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
This is where we differ, because I love that. I don't mind it. I think if there's room, this is my thinking.
Sure.
2 points. One, and I'm not trying to convince you. I'm just telling you my.
Because you're not going to.
No, I know that, but I'm not trying to be right. Well, you have to agree with this. If there's a place for movies to be plot driven and character driven, if there's a place for different styles of films that are supposed to be esoteric or just supposed to be linear or non-linear, I think there's a place for this type of film that the dialogue is more wordy than not, and maybe it is play. To go along with that, because I know you're about to argue, is how do you excuse when people do Shakespearean adaptations in movies when they're using Shakespearean dialogue in movies that are specifically for theater? How is that? That can't be a pass. That same rationale has to hold true, right?
It's tough because sometimes when you do Shakespeare adaptations, it is kind of crappy because you're not doing the dialogue right, or you're doing the dialogue too much the way it's supposed to be. And sometimes you have to take liberties with that dialogue. I'm not saying change Shakespeare's dialogue,
right?
But go off the beaten path. Maybe don't do the full thing as iambic pentameter. Be a little bit more emotional in different scenes. Really kind of change it up for film, and the ones that succeed in that are great. I always say that I really like Polanski's Macbeth, and I think they don't necessarily hold to the iambic pentameter too much. And although when we're recording this, I have not yet seen Denzel Washington's Macbeth,
which is out actually today.
Oh yeah,
I know,
nice.
I'm all over that.
So I'll be watching it this weekend. But
bullshit. Hold on, bullshit. You will. That ain't happening.
There's no way Elise wants to watch this with me, so I can watch it late at night, depending on how long it is. But
okay, go ahead.
So I'm sure Denzel Washington, from what I've seen of Denzel Washington's, it's a little bit more close-ups. It's a little bit more personable. It's a little bit more subdued and changed. And I think that that's what you need to do in this. It's not that this movie Shape of Things is too wordy,
sure,
because like I said, Sorkin stuff and all that is very wordy, but I think it works. I think that it still feels human. It still feels made for film when they perform it sometimes. Mamet stuff, that's a little more like this.
What about the movie Fences? Speaking of Washington, because that's a play, and they got award nominees and award winners there.
True, but Fences isn't trying to be.
Well, here's the thing.
Fences is trying to be more grounded, even as a stage play.
It's a little unfair. It's a little unfair for me too, because Fences had a lot more money behind it than this did. This only had $4 million behind it, so it is an indie. This movie also feels like a '90s indie, even though it was 2003. It does feel like a '90s indie, which again, I probably have some sort of bias towards because I do like 90s.
I mean, Evelyn's outfits are all very 90s. Her outfits are out of time even for early 2000s. But I think that just some of the dialogue needs to be looked at, and like it just isn't. It doesn't hold true for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think what's weird is some of Philip's dialogue does hold true. So maybe it's the way they're performing it. Maybe Fredrick Weller, the way he's performing Philip here on screen is different from how he performed it on stage. And I know he was nominated or won awards.
He did, yeah.
His performance as Philip, and he's great.
He's got a lot more stuff to do because he's a supporting character, but he's got a lot of juicy dialogue. He's got a lot of stuff to do.
It's a good role. It's a good role.
One of my notes here is like, look, Paul Rudd acting, because I like Paul Rudd, but it's tough to kind of.
He's very often Paul Rudd.
Right. And in those big films like Ant-Man and
even Ghostbusters, which you haven't seen yet, he is Paul Rudd
in a generic sense. Yeah. I don't mean, obviously there are emotional moments in a lot of these movies, the big films. I don't want to just lump it with Marvel, but these big films.
It just doesn't seem like this is not him.
But like he is a good actor, and I've seen him in stuff where he can do, like The Catcher Was a Spy is, I'm not gonna tell you it's a great film, but he's good in it.
I have to see that. I have not seen that.
But so it was good to see him in something again that it was just him acting.
Oh yeah.
I mean? Yeah. So but he doesn't have, he's got to play kind of like the quote unquote straight guy where he's just everything's bouncing off of him. He's
right.
Reactive a lot of times. He never really has his own voice until the very end of the movie, because in terms of like,
which kind of shows that
right.
She succeeded in what she was trying to do.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what makes it not awkward.
You mentioned before about how I liked it, how you think I liked it because I just like that. Well, I can't remember. You said that it was just.
I said one of the things you probably liked about making me watch it was that it's an uncomfortable movie. And
right. Okay.
Which I think is why you put it on the list. You want to see uncomfortable. I think we talked about it.
No. I didn't do it to make you uncomfortable. Well, I put it on the list because I remember watching this film and I remember being like, at the end of the movie, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe what she did to him. And then I was like, yes, I love, like I said before, In the Company of Men, this movie and Your Friends and Neighbors. I love all those movies, and I love all those movies for probably the wrong reasons.
In the Company of Men, though, I think it's more
Jason Patrick.
Evil.
Have you seen Your Friends and Neighbors?
I have never seen My Friends.
Okay, so I'm not going to tell you because there's a moment where there's a couple moments in there, but Jason Patrick, you want to talk about a despicable guy? You got to watch. It's just something. I just like, I don't know why, but maybe it's because the honesty of the fact that these people are evil or mean. They know they are mean and they don't care that they are mean, that kind of
thing. I think it's because most movies portray those kind of people either as villains or they don't portray them at all. Like dicks don't exist in the films universe usually. They are either literally the bad guys, but they're never like regular people.
Mm-hmm.
They're never your protagonists. They're never your average Joe. They're never your friends. They're always the bad guy. But in real life, good fun fact, the douchebag is probably your best friend or something like
absolutely.
or your neighbor or something like that. But in the Company of Men, I have seen that. They're despicable in that. I don't think Evelyn is despicable. I think she has issues. I think she's got a very broken moral compass or no moral compass where like art has replaced what should be a sense of right and wrong.
I think she believes strongly in the art. Yeah,
those people do exist. I've met those people.
Absolutely. Will she ever think that she did anything wrong? No,
absolutely not.
And she doesn't care. She doesn't care.
I don't think she doesn't care. That's the thing. There's a lot of dialogue in here which shows that I think while she didn't love him to the point where their relationship was fake, I think it's clear that there are moments in dialogue where you can see that she is hurt by the fact that Adam would cheat on her in a way. And I think that the dialogue in the presentation when she goes, even if that was a calzone with meatballs and spinach, and then she like breaks off and goes, but he did also have a salad. Like she has moments where she feels bad for him. She actually does have emotion. It's not like she doesn't think what she did was wrong,
but she was never going to be with him in the end.
Right.
So it didn't matter.
Right. But right. I think she's lying when she said she felt nothing and that she feels completely unfazed by what she did.
Well, I would put it this way, but not the fact that she's a robot, she can't feel, but the fact that even though she feels it, she will immediately rationalize it away and move on with,
But she does feel it. She's just trying to rationalize it, but she's not as psychopathic as maybe Adam might think or as the movie might present towards the end.
I think she's going to maybe like 20 years later when she's much older, she might soften in terms of, as obviously a lot of people do when they get older, they soften their kind of edges a little bit.
Right.
They don't, I remember I would have countless arguments about movies with people in terms of just like, no, but like, you know, as you get older, you're just like, I like movies. You don't like them. You like them. That's fine. Whatever. I mean, for the sake of just being, you know, having a good time and joking and just kind of like debating of the whole debate. Yeah, I'll jump in there, but I'm never going to get emotionally invested in stuff like that.
Right. But I think that's what keeps her from being an actual despicable human being. Whereas the characters in The Company of Men are all bad.
Yeah, but who's not that I want to go into the company of men, but who do you view in those two characters as the worst? I know you're going to say Aaron Eckhart.
It's probably it's the other guy.
It's the other guy because the other guy doesn't like. He doesn't feel anything
because he is
Eckhart's a dick. He is,
but
he knows it and he knows what he's doing and he never wavers on what he's going to do.
Right.
Even though what they're doing is horrendous, but the other guy falls in love with the girl and he just kind of at the end when he's just yelling at her.
Right. Matt Malloy, that's the other guy.
When he's just screaming at her and like because he's completely just deluded himself. It's just. Oh, I like that movie. Anyways, but I will say this back to this film. With regards to Evelyn, I will say that she does do something in this movie where she does take a stand on something is when she breaks the fourth wall at the end, which I forgot she did. And she gives the middle finger to indifference.
Yes.
And she says fuck you, middle but she's staring right at the camera.
Right at the camera.
And I think she's making a strong statement there. It's like hate it or love it, but don't tell me it doesn't affect you. Like so to your point, I think that's a
you know
great
you know what I thought of when she did that?
What?
I thought of the Rango episode. Hate it or love it.
We redid that.
Give me an emotion. You gave me a forced emotion.
First of all, that original one is gone, so it doesn't count. I did at the end. Rango's just whatever.
But yes, I did like that as well. Obviously, in the play, she would have gone up to the audience and given them the finger.
Right.
I'm sure. But yeah.
But here's to the counterpoint because you bring up Rango. To the counterpoint with the indifference model, that don't give indifference. It's like, well, when you are given movies that are the same over, and I'm not just saying Marvel, but like everyone knows the success of Marvel is going to be like G.I. Joe. Everyone's trying to be like that. All that stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
When you consistently get that in every weekend at the theater or on streaming and it's the same you can't help but get indifferent to it. So something like The Shape of Things or movies that are different, that are not
right.
I think those help you appreciate the bigger films more. And I think that, whether you determine whether you love it or not, but when you get exposed to something that's the same over and over and over again, you can't help but sit down for 2 hours and have 2.5 hours and watching the Eternals, which I just did, and be like, I saw it. You can't help that because it's overload. The overload creates that indifference, I think.
Sure. It's also the lack of emotional cores and trying to make you this movie. Marvel is just trying to make you keep you entertained.
Trying to make money. Well, hold on. They're trying to make money.
Right. By keeping you mindlessly entertained with action and special effects and this and that. And,
sure.
Whatever.
Cha-ching,
exactly.
cha-ching.
And I'm indifferent to that. When I talk about not liking Marvel, it's that kind of indifference too. I've seen stuff explode before.
Sure.
With superheroes.
Sure.
But I think when you're talking about Shape of Things, they're talking about an emotional resonance, a movie that's trying to make you feel things. I talk about, not liking Shakespeare in Love a lot because, I have this kind of attitude toward it that it took an Oscar away from Saving Private Ryan. But when I'm watching it, I don't feel indifferent.
You should hate Miramax for that.
You still feel something toward the characters in Shakespeare in Love. And, you can't be indifferent toward a movie that's trying to make you feel something.
How about this? Would you now? Don't say yes because you just want to do something. Would you be in this play? And what character would you play?
I mean, I would be in this play. And although I would like to play Philip, I'm an Adam. I'm clearly an Adam.
So you're saying that I'm a Philip?
You're a Philip for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone doing this and looking for? I'll work for free. I will absolutely be Philip.
All right, we're doing this. We're performing it.
Excellent. Do you have anything else that you want to talk about with the movie?
To jump onto your Paul Rudd's acting thing. Hey, I love the fact that the first thing I thought when she presents the evidence was
you talking about at the
very end, the thesis, when she presents her MFA thesis, and he goes at the end, I could sue you for this, and she goes, I did take that into account, because that was my first note is she can't do this without his permission. But then it's like clearly he's just given up. It's like she's won.
Well, he's given up in that moment, but like
I don't think he's going to pursue it. Although I do like the fact that they mentioned that he could, because the whole time I'm thinking you gotta explain this to me.
Well, he didn't sign any waivers, So yeah,
Exactly.
So yeah, no, he would have to sign waivers to allow that to keep going.
Especially the sex tape part. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a student project, so I don't know if it's covered underneath the Mercy. I don't know. Even though it's a fictitious college.
Sex tape definitely is.
I mean, you're watching the movie too, and I know that it's supposed to take place in the American Midwest, but like all I'm thinking, like this is like Southern California.
It's obviously
It's
California.
San Francisco. That's where they shot. But
When
I'm
I
like,
read on IMDb, it goes in the Midwest. I'm like, no.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's the setting of a play,
Sure.
and they shot it in San Francisco just because that's where they, where
Yeah.
everyone was. Okay. But when I was
Yeah.
watching, I'm like, this is like out west.
You can say the word Chicago as many times as you want, but
Here's the other thing too. They never say in the movie. It's in critics when they write about the movie. They're saying like,
Right.
the American Midwest. It's like, okay, well, explain the ocean when they go and stand by the ocean, talk about going down to the beach.
Yeah.
It's like, so maybe don't assume that the play synopsis is like the movie.
Yeah.
So shame on you guys, critics. over 20 years ago.
But within that, I liked that, and then I also liked that he she goes, I'm gonna leave. Are you coming? And he goes, don't worry, I'm not gonna destroy your I'm gonna stay for a little while. Don't worry, I'm not gonna destroy your display.
Right.
This kind of understanding that the display will stay, and she goes, I'll give everything back to you.
He wanted the ring. Yeah.
When he says, I'd like the ring back, it's my grandma's, and he breaks.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was incredible acting. I was like, oh, that's great.
Yeah, he's got
that's
the chops.
When you talk about Paul Rudd's chop, that line was like, that was like, oof.
And you see segments of that in the bigger films when they have certain moments when they have to do that, but it's very difficult to pull those moments out of bigger movies because it's just everything else is so much bigger, and it's.
I also feel
jokey.
Paul Rudd's not given a lot of. No one's hurting Paul Rudd emotionally in movies.
No, and
That's the
also
other thing.
he doesn't. I mean, he's making a ton of money, so you're not going to say no to all that stuff.
I'm not saying that with bigger movies. I'm just saying also his roles aren't as emotionally crippling as this. I guess in a way.
In Ant-Man, you deal with the fact that he's an absentee father, and he's trying to,
he does have a couple of moments where he finds out his daughter is now like older and stuff like that.
That's during the Avengers Endgame.
During the Avengers one,
there's moments. Like I said, there's moments in all of them. It's just difficult to pick them out.
I can't think of a movie. Well, not that I've seen a ton of Paul Rudd movies, but where he's gotten like gutted to the point where his character's even given a chance to get to that point.
I haven't seen this
except for maybe the end of the Baxter.
Forever. Oh, but he's like in the, I was gonna put the Baxter in there, but then I'm like, he's only in at the end. I mean,
it's the best scene in the movie.
I haven't seen the Cider House Rules in quite a long time, so I don't remember his role in that. But I do know that movie wasn't, uplifting. It was, but it had some, down.
Right.
And he's pretty young back then. But yeah, no, I haven't really. I mean, shame on us. We haven't followed the Paul Rudd film career more.
2021 Sexiest Man Alive.
Oh, was that really?
Yeah, he was People Magazine's. It was a big deal.
Whatever.
But I think it's funny is watch the beginning of this movie and still. Obviously,
do you still think that? And I guess one final thought. Before we go on to why we think it's forgotten, you always have to remember you don't say penis in Jenny's house. He's yelling at him. All right, so why do you? I mean, I guess why do you think it's forgotten?
You can't find it anywhere.
Well,
I think
that doesn't help.
It doesn't help that. I mean, obviously it was a small film, 60 theaters, but I mean, it won a lot of awards. Neil LaBute he's not a big name, but he's a name. When people go, it's written or directed by Neil LaBute, you go, okay, even if you don't remember what movie it was, that name.
There's certain levels of people who watch movies, the casual fan.
Right.
But I think if you follow directors and writers, and also if you are into the plays and the written word on stage, I think you would know who Neil LaBute was.
Yeah,
I mean he has a small filmography, but he's got tons of plays out there, so it's not like he's a recognizable
he's known
name.
But
right. He's the only. I would say that if you were taking the percentage of moviegoers that would know what he's done, maybe you're talking like 60, 50% maybe. 40.
Yeah, but I think if you said his name on screen, people would be like, "Oh, I know that guy."
Because everybody
even
knows,
if they don't know that guy.
Well, because like my point is like everybody knows the Wicker Man remake with Nick Cage.
Oh yeah,
and then when he punches the bear,
knows the gif or the meme where he punches
exactly.
the bear.
Everyone knows that, but nobody knows who
and
wrote
him
and
screaming
directed
with the bees.
But how many percent of those know who wrote and directed it?
Nobody. But if you say his name, they'd be like, "Oh, I know that guy," even if they couldn't name you a single thing.
Right. So
obviously Paul Rudd, his star has just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as time has gone on. And
it's a small film.
It's a small film. Rachel Weisz is a bigger actress.
Mm-hmm.
I like Gretchen Mol. and Fredrick Weller, but then they're not exactly big names.
Who said they didn't? Who didn't? Who doesn't like them?
Nobody. But I'm just saying that I'm surprised that it didn't get more attention, later on, that it didn't become more of a cult kind of thing, just because of the names involved. But I think the subject matter is tough. It doesn't end happily. It's a tough watch. I mean,
well, you don't know.
I think
how
there's
it's
enough
gonna
to make it
end.
not uncomfortable for me. No, you don't know how
You
it's
don't know
going
if he's
to
going to get back to Jenny.
But in terms of, this is a movie that you'd have to get somebody to watch. You'd have to have somebody, you watch this. It doesn't exactly have a happy ending. It's tough to get somebody to watch something that doesn't end well.
What she did to him is obviously awful, but she did improve him. See, that's the thing.
No,
he did get healthier.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what makes it not a completely uncomfortable watch.
Right.
But it still doesn't end happy. He still loses Jenny, who should have been the love of his life.
He hasn't lost her yet, man.
He still loses Philip. They're not gonna become friends with Adam again, because although yes, she ruined Adam's life more, she still ruined it by proxy, Philip and Jenny's life.
I don't think that because
it would not have been a happy marriage, but they don't know that.
No. I'm saying I don't think that. I would think that after this, if we're talking about The Shape of Things Part 2, I do think that Jenny and Adam will get together, because Adam was used. He's completely a victim here. So why wouldn't Jenny feel sorry for him?
She does leave first because of the disgust that she feels for that. Whereas Philip leaves because he's just mad that the whole thing happened.
Right.
But yeah, I think that makes it a tough watch, and I think that makes it hard to recommend to the casual movie viewer. Someone like you or I who like films, especially someone who likes plays or the written word like you. And even me, I like plays as well. If you had told me this was a play first, I would have started it through a different lens, although I would have had.
Should I have told you that first?
No, I mean, once I figured it out, the dialogue wasn't an issue.
I gotcha.
That's big an issue. I think it's harder for other people that aren't quite as into that to like it. Even people maybe who like film might not like the kind of playness of it all.
It's an acquired taste, I think.
Yes.
I think compared to his other films, like we keep talking about In the Company of Men, more people know In the Company of Men because that put Aaron Eckhart on the map. That was like his star like catapulted from that movie. So that's why people know that movie more.
It's also a clearer line of, like we said before, despicableness.
Sure.
You want to see a movie about just two terrible people?
Yeah.
Just watch this movie. Whereas Shape of Things is like, is Evelyn that terrible? Is Adam terrible? The things that are happening are kind
what
of
she's doing
shitty.
is terrible.
What she's doing
the
is terrible.
outcome, it's
tough to argue the outcome.
It's tough to argue the negativity of the outcome in terms of his personal and physical appearance and what she has done for him, but how they got there. But again, like I started off saying, like it's an over exaggeration of what happens when you meet a significant other and you hit puberty and you start taking care of yourself. And everyone has met somebody in their life that changed them the way they wore different things. Like, whether they wore, t-shirts all the time to now wearing dress shirts, like that happens. And it's like, you don't think about it because it's not so overt and it's not so manipulative like it is in this movie, but it is some form of manipulation.
Oh, it still happens. Yeah.
So it's like, you can't knock that.
At the end of this movie, I came out of it thinking, not came out of it. I mean, I watched it at home.
I walked off my couch thinking,
Adam's life, he's going to have a shitty rest of the year. This is something that's going to be in the back of his head for a while. But overall, he's going to have a better life afterward. He's thinner. He's better looking. He's more confident.
He's going to get Jenny.
I think that even if he doesn't get Jenny and Adam, his life going forward will improve at some point.
Unless he starts eating. Although I wondered about
the eating and drinking. The thing.
I wondered that. I wondered if that was just him going back to old habits, or that was him just angry and just trying. I didn't understand that.
I think that was just him angry and trying to be like, I'm going to ruin it.
I didn't get that.
This is my picture anyway. This is my food anyway.
Right.
Putting the half-eaten pretzel where the hell it was, and then the punch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Cool. Where can they find us?
Well, you can actually find us, unlike The Shape of Things. You can find us at ForgottenEntertainment.com or ForgottenCinemaPodcast.com. We are part of the Forgotten Entertainment family, so while you're there, check out all the other great podcasts on ForgottenEntertainment.com. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube is a big one, and wherever you find, and we're everywhere. Just make sure you rate, comment, review, subscribe, all that good stuff helps our podcast grow.
Yeah, let us know how we're doing. If we're doing anything you don't like, or if you want Butler to be replaced by something else, that's fine too.
By something else. And now a stump. Butler, what do you think of this? Oh man,
the movie review about 4,000.
This was good. Oh man, you're so much better than Butler ever was.
Before I do this, are we doing the 72 sleuth? or the newer one?
The 72
Okay,
sauce.
that's what I
Yeah.
thought. I just was.
I probably watched both before.
I
want to watch
mentioned
both,
that, and then I was like, that confused me. I was like, wait a minute, which one are we doing? I
72.
was like 95% sure. Okay. And join us next week as we're going to the 70s, Butler, my favorite decade. I don't know. We're going to watch the 1972 film Sleuth. And Butler says he's going to watch the remake as well with Jude Law.
I'm going to give it a try.
I think I've seen it. Maybe I'll do that as well. Interesting.
Oh, you did see the remake?
I've seen the remake.
I did not see the remake.
A long time ago, but probably when it first came out, and then I've never gone back.
We had it at the theater for a week and I missed it. And then I was like, eh.
No, I hear that. So, yep, we're going to be doing Sleuth next week. And that's it, Butler. Everyone have a great week. I am Mike Field.
No, I'm Mike Butler.
And this has been Forgotten Cinema.